आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवद्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः। नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिवा कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणगुं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मा उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकरोत् मामः ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मा ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वाङ् मे मनसा प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य मानीस्थः अनन्वेगो कृपासीः अनेनाधितेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि नित्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रन्नो अपि वातयमनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो ब्रह्मानं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं हदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः न अन्तः प्रज्ञं न बहिष्प्रज्ञं नोभयतः प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानघनं प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानघनं न प्रज्ञं नाप्रज्ञम् अदृष्टम् अव्यवहार्यम् अग्राह्यम् अलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदेश्यम् एकात्मप्रत्ययसारम् प्रपञ्चोपशमं शान्तम् शिवम् अद्वैतम् चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः Let's chant verses 13, 14 and 15 of the Karika. Number 13 first. Dvaitasya grahanam. Dvaitasya grahanam tulyam. Ubhayoh prajna turyayoho. Ubhayoh prajna turyayoh. Bija nidra yutah प्राज्ञः बीज निद्युतः प्राज्ञः सा चतुर्येन विद्यते स्वप्न निद्रा युता वाद्यौ स्वप्न निद्रा युता वाद्यौ प्राज्ञस्तु अस्वप्न निद्रया प्राज्ञस्तु अस्वप्न निद्रया न निद्रां नैव च स्वप्नं न निद्रां नैव च स्वप्नं तुर्ये पश्यन्ति निश्चिताः अन्यथा गृह्णतः स्वप्नः निद्रा तत्त्वम् अजानतः विपर्यासे तयोक्षीणे तुरीयं पदमश्नुते So we saw in verse number 13, Dvaitasya agrahanam tulyam ubhayoho pragyah turyayoho bija nidra yutah pragyah sacha turyena vidyate. So in terms of the sequencing of our experiences in our life, in terms of the sequences of the states of experiences, and so it is where we start with our states of experience, distinguish the changes that occur in those, and from there we extract the fact that there is a possibility where I am without any experience. Without any experience. It is just I am what I am. Because what happens is that in our life, we have a precondition. From the moment we are born, we are born with a precondition that experiences are essential to my life. So that we don't question. The only thing we question is what type of experiences, how to improve the experiences. But the fact that I am endowed fundamentally with experiences is never questioned. And so the ultimate moksha, the ultimate freedom, consists in questioning whether I can exist without experiences. And the Shastra helps us in inquiring that yes, you can exist without experiences. In fact, that is your real nature. Experiences are just a kind of like a fun, sometimes not so fun, but they are not essential to you. You may act in some play or movie, and it's good to have all of that. But really speaking, you are what you are, and you are what you are with lacking nothing. But our sense of inquiry into myself as someone who's not lacking anything is blocked by the fact that I am so busy in experiences. This is what happens. And so eventually the Shastra says, have the courage to inquire, have the wisdom, and have the sharpness, have the subtlety of inquiring. In terms of the sharpness, I was reading some other book, and there one of the things pointed out is what is called kuntita buddhi. Kuntita buddhi. So in looking into the meaning of the word kuntita, I came across a very good explanation. Kuntita means blunted. So like if you have a sharp knife, and the sharp knife can really go through, it's very subtle. But if the knife is not sharp enough, it is blunted by something or some reason or something, it cannot go through some of the very sharp functions necessary that a sharp knife has to do. What is it? Is it the, I always get confused between this sweet potato, and then there's, what is this, something like that?
Yeah.
Yams, thank you, yes, yams and sweet potato. So my wife she's very fond of this, she's very careful about not eating pure starch, and so she's very, in that sense, very good about getting yams and all these kinds of things. you try cutting yams. And that is sometimes my job. She says, okay, I'm going to do cooking, you do the cutting. Oh my God. I mean, you can find out how sharp your knife is by trying to peel the skin off of these things. And so in Vedanta, it is exactly the same thing. So what happens is that for our vyavahara, for our transactions, which means our experiences, you don't need a very sharp knife. You need a relatively sharp knife. Relatively sharp knife means that you need to be an intelligent person, going through life in a very meaningful manner. All of that is necessary. If you, in that sense, a person who is foolish, doesn't think, is like a completely blunted buddhi. They're not able to see the sharpness of what is necessary. But otherwise, a relatively intelligent person goes through life in a nice manner of taking care of health, taking care of friends, family, having a good mind and all that. So that is a sharp mind. But then to actually inquire into the person without the experiences requires extremely sharp knife. Sharp knife means your own buddhi, because you have to see, is it possible that I am without my experiences? Is it possible? And the mind doesn't allow you to inquire because it's not used to it. It's not sharp enough. You have to sharpen it. And so the subtlety and sharpness are all provided us with vichara, with thinking, and with the help of the Shastra. So it is not at all, my mind doesn't allow me to go into the facts about myself. And the facts about myself are just hard to believe. And so one of the things one should see is that I have, just like, even if you look at just in this life itself, just look at this life, you've had lots of experiences. Everyone. Lots of experiences. And in fact, you see your physical body transform. You're as a young person. Just the other day I was doing some meditation, and somehow my thoughts came to, it's amazing how some of the experiences from much earlier in your life are so clear. I still remember so clearly, as though it was like in front of my eyes, the first day I was left in school by my mother. And Swami Dayananji also talks about it. He says that's a very traumatic experience. Because you grow up in the house, in the home, and your mom and dad and the rest of the family are with you. And they're loving, and you see them all the time. Either you're hungry or they're feeding you or something, but so on and so forth. Then all of a sudden, there's talk about going to school. And you don't know what means going to school. I have no idea. But then one day, your mom or dad say that, we're going to take you to school. So you say, we'll take you to school, means like you go shopping or something like this. No. And then I still remember this. So I remember the classroom, where it was, and the people that were there. My teacher, I don't remember exactly that particular teacher. But I do remember my mom saying, I could see you in the evening. So I said, I don't understand. What do you mean by seeing you in the evening? Where are you going? She says, the teacher said, no, you are with me. You're okay. You're all right. No, I was not okay. And that whole scene is just so vivid in my mind. So what I'm saying is, all of us have had lots of experiences where our body has changed, and even if the body, since the body has stabilized somewhat as an adult, you've had lots of experiences. Good and bad, varied experience. How we were in India, how we came here, all kinds of things. And now if you extend it, as you should, to the previous life, which happily you are shielded from. You're not supposed to remember it. And if you do remember it, it's an exception to the rule. It's possible. Somehow some kind of a rule where, your previous life also but generally speaking, we are not. But the point is, this is the thing to see, is that I am someone who is aware of different experiences. That me is the same. It's the same. I mean, when I was recalling my experience with the school and all the subsequent challenges in staying in school and working with the other students, and sometimes being taunted by them, sometimes being friendly to them, all of those kinds of things. I could still remember what's happening to me. Who am I? I mean, I didn't say that, but it's the same awareness. And the interesting thing is, this the same awareness that was in the previous life. And by the way, it will be the same awareness. You, even the word awareness doesn't do justice to it. You will be experiencing in the next life. Hopefully not. You will really don't have to do that, but you may have to do that. But here's the thing to see. For me to sharpen my mind, sharpen my buddhi, I have to see that I am someone who is going through all these experiences. Same person. It's very obvious. It is not as though I don't, it's not as though I'm a different person. Because you could not function. You could not have a memory. You could not have the same integration of the various experiences if you were a different person. Just on the side, just on a kind of like a different, I'm reading something else which is very beautiful. There's an Upanishad that points out, I don't have because I didn't bring the book with me, so I'll just have to give you some interpretation of that instead of, there's a verse given and then beautifully explained, so I'll just give you a brief explanation of this. So there it says that there are almost like 3 stages to our freedom. You can do different stages, but this way, this one way to look at it as 3 stages is a useful one. The 3 stages are that, number 1, through the help of the Shastra, you discover that the world that you are experiencing is not what is called vastavam. Vastavam means real. Absolutely, this is exactly what it is. There's no, you cannot be dismissed. You have to go through the experiences. This is how we start. The Shastra says no. This is completely dismissible. Completely dismissible. Not really. So this is the introduction to the science of the self, saying that what you are seeing as a real set of experiences are not really the real sense of experiences. So the very familiar thing that if you are seeing a snake, then you're saying, no, that's not true, not a snake. So this is the first thing, the first stage that happens is that the Shastra convinces you. You come to a stage where you say, wow, this is very true. This is absolutely, this is something that I didn't realize it, and I understand what the Shastra is telling me, what the Shruti is telling me, and I at least get it. But at the same time, the experiences remain the same. So really nothing changes. Now comes the second stage. This is what is the trying the three different things, which is Shruti, then comes Yukti, and the third one is Anubhava. It is very much like that. So Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. So all three stages I have to go through. So the first stage is Shruti, which says that this is not really, it is not real. There's something funny going on in here. Please inquire into it. Because before that, I never even started to think that way. But now at least I'm exposed to this kind of a thing. Okay, number one. Number two comes Yukti. And in Yukti, this is where your mind has to be sharpened. And so another thing, another parallel to that, of course, is the Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Very similar to that. Very similar. There's some small differences between Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava, and Shravanam, Mananam, but generally speaking, very compatible. So the second stage is where I employ my reasoning to pry open the possibility of what the Shastra is saying. And this is what triggered, this one point was the trigger where I went on this tangent, which I'll go on for a while and then I will close it. And so the Yukti means the following. There's several points of the Yukti we have to see. I'll mention a few of them. The one that was referenced because of this experiences I was telling you about is this. Just think about it. You cannot have experiences. In fact, you cannot have life and the way the life presents yourself unless you are the same person going through the various experiences. This is Yukti. We have to think about it. Is it possible? Can you come up with some kind of a scenario? Ishvara must have tried. No way. So overlaying all your experiences is the experiencer, which is the same person. This is Yukti. Why don't we see this very clear? Another aspect of this, which one can extend and very logically extend is that I am the same person that had a previous life. And in fact, one should think about it, that really the way things are going in my life, I'm going to continue this. Where I will be and what experiences, we don't know yet. That's all determined by the karmic, the karmas and so on. But just imagine, just to visualize that your experiences are a continuous, you're surrounded by a continuous set of experiences. And the body is simply a mechanism for you to stay within this life. And the body also keeps on changing and then collapses. But the sense of experiences remain the same. So this is one yukti. We have to do this. We have to visualize it. Another aspect of the yukti is the fact that the dvaitam, the plurality, the duality of life disappears in deep sleep. This is how unreal it is. This is yukti. We have to look into that. If it was so real, it would never go. But it goes. Good, not just for a second. It goes for a long time. So I have to look into that. Why does it go? What is the reason for it to go? And how the I-ness is an important aspect of it, as we've been studying. That for me to have the ahankara is an important element of the duality. If the ahankara disappears, then the duality also disappears. This is yukti. I have to think about that. Another aspect of the yukti is that it is something that I just make up. We have made some kind of a rule that let us go through life this way. And here, this is a very beautiful example Swami Maheshanji gives. Really just a great example. He says that the currency given to you by the country, and India is a better example than the US, because the US happens to be a bit more stable. But this demonetization and so on, you can see this. So you have a 500 rupee note, and you have a bunch of them. If you ever go to India and you tell the servant, please, or somebody else, not servant or anybody, whoever, domestic help or anything, or you do yourself, sometimes in a large amount. So you get these thick 500 rupee notes for 10,000 rupees, for you may want to keep it in the home and so on. And it is very useful. Very useful, because sometimes you need to buy something, some medicines or something like this. You can always buy medicines through this. But this is by convention. This is by convention. Why? Because Modi ji overnight can say 500 rupee notes are like toilet paper from tomorrow. Nothing. And so there is no value to this convention. Convention is a mutual thing. Should we have a rupee? Yes, shall we have a rupee? Okay, that's good. And then you decide that supposing you want to, and Indians want to travel, you cannot, this rupee is worth nothing. Nobody would do this. What is this strange looking note? Or it can be demonetized. This is a convention. So here's the thing. The yukti, through the yukti, one recognizes that it is possible to have this world's experiences which are just a way of transacting. Just like the 500 rupee note is just a way of transacting. It is useful up to a certain point by convention. In Sanskritam, this Upanishad uses this word, and perhaps we will do this a more formal way. I'm just giving you a quick summary of it. In the definition of this perceived usefulness is called karyakshamam. This is the word that the Upanishad uses, called karyakshamam. Karyakshamam means, it is interesting, there was a Hindi translation which really Swami Maheshananji gave, which really gave me a very good idea. It's called Kaam Chalao. Kaam Chalao. Those of you that know Hindi will immediately understand. Kaam Chalao means somehow it's okay. For the time being, it's okay. And Swami Maheshananji gave this example. He says, suppose you had a gold coin instead. And he says that supposing it's a gold coin that was used in the 7th century, and it is not really useful even today, because it's not a currency, it is some kind of Chandragupta Maurya or somebody that issued a gold coin as a currency at that time. But the gold coin is not like the 500 rupee note. In fact, if you were to ever find a gold coin from the 7th century, it will be worth millions of dollars. The value increases. So therefore, the second stage in this analysis is that a student of Vedanta begins to look upon the experiences of life as karyakshamam. Kaam Chalao. Somehow or the other it is there, but it has no intrinsic value of its own. In fact, Atma is the gold coin. This has the intrinsic value, but it is hidden from me. It is hidden from me. And so, until I inquire into it with a sharp knife, I cannot say that it has a lot of value. I don't give it much credence. Why not? Because my experiences define my conclusion as to who I am. Totally dependent on that. If I'm feeling my mind is comfortable, I am comfortable. If someone says something bad to me and my mind reacts, then I am also reacting. If there is physical pain, then I am in pain. So my entire estimation of who I am is intricately connected to my experiences. Where is the chance for me to see myself as an independent person? Until I go on a path of these 3 stages, Shruti and then Yukti. And Yukti means I have to do the work to figure out this is what Viveka is. This is what Vichara is. I have to figure out how is this possible? I have to convince my mind. Then comes the 3rd stage, where I am I have discovered, at first very fleetingly, that there is someone who can exist without the experiences. It is the same someone that has been observing the experiences throughout my existence forever. This life is just a very small portion of that. And who is that? What does it consist of? What is it made out of? And so through this now, my courage and my sharpness and my ability, my deservingness starts to make me aware of the fundamental quality of the Atma, which is that it is complete. Purnamadav, Purnamidam, it's complete. Doesn't lack anything. Infinite. And so this stage, the third stage, is where the sharpness of my yukti, the allegiance to the study of the Shruti, the inquiry, all of this culminates into my own personal experience, where I am free from, as verse number 13 says, from the bija of the nidra, because it is kind of like ignorance. So even though, I can now bring it back into this, from this detour, that even though the Turiya and the Pragya are both very similar. Why is it similar? Because both are Advaitam. They do not have any sense of duality. Sleep is a very beautiful thing to inquire into, other than the fact that it is very pleasant but just if you do the yukti on the deep sleep, it is a fascinating thing. That amazing that you are, but not as a person. Wow. I mean, that should give me the courage and the impetus to see that Turiya can be like that. But the Turiya is more than that. Because even though I can visualize what my sleep must feel like, while I am asleep, I am not aware of this fact. This is what is called bija nidra yutaha pragyaha. And in fact, I think the English translation was an interesting one. That is stuck up. Interesting how people, are different. That must have been a popular kind of a thing. But really, it is bound by, or it is surrounded by, or something like that. Some modern word can be used. So that is the nidra. In Turiya, that does not happen. So in Turiya, you will see that I am not as an individual limited being, but as Brahman itself, which is unlimited, Purnaha. So this is what is called Sacha Turiyena Vidyate. So here Swami Maheshananji gives a very interesting commentary on this. So he says, so this is the consciousness which is without any limitations. I saw a couple of interviews of people, and they talk in terms of super consciousness. There's no super consciousness. So consciousness is the same. It's the same awareness. Same awareness, I am aware. But one is that I am limited, and the other one is I am unlimited. And that comes from knowledge. There is no other, that experience changes. So you're right that the limited awareness is endowed with all the problems. The unlimited one, so for example, the example of the room space. So if the consciousness, if the space had consciousness, then the room consciousness has problems. The vulnerability that I may be destroyed. Whereas the total space has no such thing. It's the same thing. Here Swami Maheshananji gave a very interesting thing. He says, you may have heard this. So in the people's name sometimes, when you have Mahatmas, the number 108 is appended to it. Mahatma one, Shri 108, 108 times, 108. So Swami Maheshananji says, have you ever considered what it means? So here's what happens. So people say, our Guru is a very wise person. He has realized the whole thing. And so we're going to put 108 next to it. People don't understand what 108 is, but it is kind of like a symbol of how big this guy is. Then others said, our Guru is even better than that. So they put 1008. Swami Maheshananji, he says, I see this all the time. 1008, so on and so forth. So he says, Swamiji says, what does it really mean? Does anybody understand? It means the following. He says, you have Jnana Indriya, Karma Indriya, Manaha, and Buddhi. Okay? Then you have, so Jnana Indriyas are 5, Karma Indriyas are 5, Manaha and Buddhi, so this is 12. Okay? Then you have Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti. And then you have the 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The person who has completely figured out that I am not bound by any one of these 108 combinations is called 108. 108. Mahatma. 108. So the 108 designation is the person who is endowed with a clear understanding of Turiya. Is what it is. But people they don't know what the meaning is. So you take the designation as 108 and then you start applying it to our Guru is the greater than your Guru. And then he says 108, ours is 1008. Swamiji says, I have seen the number of zeros in between 1 and 8 go on completely. So anyway, this is what it is. So he says, Dvaitasya agrahanam tulya ubhayoho pragyas turyayoho bijas nidrayuta pragyaha sacha turyena vidyate. So this is how it is. Then, in going to number 14, Swapna Nidra Yutau Adyau. Adyau. So, if you look at the Anvaya, Sanskrit Anvaya, Adyau means the first two. Which one are the first two? Vishwa and Tejasau. So now the waking state is also is now taken up, which is the Vishwa. And Tejasa is Swapna. So Adyau, Swapna Nidra Yutau Pragyaha tu Aswapna Nidraya Yuta Nishchita Turye Nidrana Swapnam Chana Eva Pashyanti. So this is now it is just simply a summary of what has already gone through. There is nothing absolutely new, but just as a summary. So he says, as we have seen, that the Jagrata Avastha and the Swapna Avastha can be endowed with, can be seen to be endowed with kind of like Swapna. And we will go into this word Swapna in a minute. So this is kind of like, so take that for it, that these two stages, namely the Jagrata Avastha and the Dream Avastha, are endowed with, you can even say like dreaming. Swapna Yutau. Swapna Nidra Yutau Adyau. Pragyahastu. The Pragya, on the other hand, is not endowed with a sense of dreaming. It is not endowed with anything except, I don't know. It is a deep sleep. And in Turiya, none of these things apply. So this is a summary of what was already gone through. There's nothing new about it. It just summarizes the state. Now let's take up this word Swapna. This is an interesting conceptual thinking about this. So the Swapna, the word, if you look at the word Swapna, it represents taking things not as they are. Taking things not as they are. This is called Swapna. This is the essence of the word Swapna. Now, we have seen this before, so this is an important thing to see, really, to revisit. We've already done this in the previous part of this study. That Swapna should not be seen just in the time when we are actually dreaming. So you see, this is an important thing. It's not as though your waking state has no Swapna and your Swapna state has Swapna. This is not the right way to look at it. Then what is the right way to look at it? Swapna is there throughout. And in one case, the Swapna is aided by the creation outside. And in the other case, it is not aided by the creation outside, you just make up your own. So there is variations in the Swapna. But the essence of the Swapna remains the same. This is a very important thing. as in the stage of the questioning and yukti, as we talked about, the second stage, the karyakshamam, the kam chalao, this is a very important aspect of it, which is swapna. And Swami Maheshanji gives a lot of commentary on this part of it. He says, for example, he says, you know, supposing you tell someone, please give me please bring me a glass of water. And then you're busy doing something, and somebody comes in and says, here, sir, and it has a plate with some food in it. So you looked at, said, what is this? He says, sir, this is what you asked for. He says, were you dreaming when I talked to you? Didn't I tell you I wanted a glass of water? Are you dreaming? So this is what clearly, and this happens to us all the time, where you tell someone, and then the person's mind is someplace else, and you misunderstand that. That happens all the time. And in fact, this is just a simple example, but in fact, the whole life of experiences should be properly called swapna. And why should we call it swapna? Because the definition of swapna is taking things to be what they are not. This is called swapna. And so going back to the example of the 500 rupee note. So to take the 500 rupee note as absolutely for sure, this is a form of swapna. It is somehow there, but it has lots of limitations. The moment you get out, I still remember, interesting, when I first came to the country in 1964, when I got accepted at Berkeley. And I flew from New Delhi. This is how these experiences are. I was telling you that, I saw the sea for the first time when I was like 19 or 20. What an experience it was, really. Just stand there and see, wow. You had heard about it, you read about it, saw pictures of it, but it is not until you see. And I'll share another very interesting thing. In growing up in Punjab, I had never seen a Muslim person in my life until I was about 18. Never. I'd heard about Muslims and this, that, or the other, but there is, because of the partition problems in Punjab, all Muslims were killed or they left. There was no Muslims at all. There was only stories about them. And my father, who was a mining engineer in Nagpur, later on, he was first in Bihar, and then he joined Karamchand Thapar, and he became a manager. And his assistant was a Muslim. He was an officer in the mines. And I still remember I visited, I can't remember his name, but I visited, my father had invited him for dinner. And he says, meet Afzal or somebody. So I was really excited to meet a Muslim person for the first time when I was like 19, 20. Like this is the experience. Similarly, when I came to this country, I flew for the first time in my life from Delhi to Calcutta, and from Calcutta to Rangoon. That was our first stop. It was a new experience. I'd never flown on a flight. To just be, that was something, and I was 23 by that time. And then Rangoon was really amazing. Because I remember going up to the shop, and I had, this is an actual experience, all I had was Indian currency with me. You know, my parents had told me that you'll probably have to change it, but you can get that done. And I go up there and he says, no, we don't accept Indian rupees. And so I had, you know, but before that, India was my whole life. And now I saw different people in Burma, Burmese people wearing different clothes, looking different than Hong Kong, than US. I was telling you about all these small experiences that give you interestingly enough, when I went to the embassy, the consulate in Chennai to get my visa, and so the guy was looking at so on and so forth, and then he put some papers together, and he used a stapler to put them together. I had never seen a stapler before that in my life. I looked at him and I said, what is this? Because you had these pins, you know, on these clips that you can do that. And this is, I'm 23, I've already gone through engineering college. And I've been teaching for a couple of years and so on and so forth. Just incredible. That was just, I thought, wow, this is a very advanced country. Then my second shock was when we landed in Honolulu. And our bus took us to the main terminal because the plane was out there. There were no, you know, you could not just go directly. And our bus driver was a woman. And she says, welcome to the United States. So I thought she was just going to start it and then give it to someone else, you know. She was the driver. I said, oh my God, what a beautiful country this is. This is so wonderful. So you have these really experiences, you know, seeing the sea for the first time. Those stay with me forever. And so really speaking, to see the limitation of a currency, that you take something for real when in fact it is not. This is what swapna is. And it turns out that you can now extend this logic. And this is all where yukti has to be done. You have to think about this. You can extend this logic for all experiences in your life. All of them. All of them. Even if you have close relationships, sons, daughters, spouses, you know, your employer, doesn't matter. Our looking at them as something which is real is foolish. How we should, it should have the same attitude as a 500 rupee note. That it can disappear anyway. It can become useless. And in fact, for my inquiry into myself, this is the way it has to be looked at. You don't have to tell someone. You don't tell your spouse you're useless from tomorrow on. But really inside, you just have to see that the whole set of experiences is just kaam chalao. Kaam chalao, really. It is karyakshamam. It is the Sanskrit word for it, karyakshamam. And so that just means that, yes, it is there. But it is not. So this is the second stage. So in the second stage, the first stage is the introduction by the Shruti. Then the second stage is a vast stage where you have to convince to your own mind that even though it has some appearance, it is like swapna. How is it like swapna? You have to think about it. The Shruti gives you some logic to aid you. And then through this second stage, as you progress, you come to the beginning of the third stage. It's not as though they are mutually exclusive. They're all mixed together, but it is a predominance of it. So again, the same thing, you can apply this to Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. The first stage is where, this is what is called Tatparya Nishchaya. Shravanam is not just one or two classes. It means you thoroughly understand what the Shastra is trying to tell you. And so, for instance, the fact that doing a viveka, it took me a long time to extract that from the Shastra. Even the teaching of Swami Dhananji and so on, I'm sure they were telling me all this, but it didn't register in my mind. It didn't register in my mind. And what it didn't register was that the ultimate viveka is that myself as a person, as I take myself to be today, is also false. Just like the swapna for the rest of it. So this is the thing. So in Gita also it talks about the dichotomy between kshetra and kshetragyaha. It's a very interesting thing we will study sometime. It's a very important one. How the Maya Shakti creates this confusion in two ways. One is, and I think we have discussed it in the Tuesday night class also, but this is very fundamental to it. And the more I have studied it, the clearer it gets in my mind. That the Maya Shakti creates two segments. And so this is very true in the Swapna. In the Swapna, the Maya Shakti creates the things that you see in your dream, and it also creates a dreamer. So the things you see in your dream are called kshetraha, field. And the dreamer is called kshetragyaha, the one that is seeing the kshetra. It's the same thing in the Gita. So both of them have to see false. But what happens is that myself as a kshetragyaha, as a knower of the kshetra, I don't question that. This is me. This is me. All I want to see is how can I change the experiences. That's all. And you can do that up to, as I said, the kuntita buddhi, that until you sharpen your mind completely, yes, you can lead an intelligent life, no doubt about it. But eventually you have to see the falseness of the kshetragyaha also, as the me person. And you can only do because my mind, you can only do it if your mind is courageous enough, educated enough, and skilled enough to tread into the fact that I am the very Sakshi, which is Brahman, which is Ishvara. I am not this limited me. This is our job. So this comes about through Mananam, very huge field. And it has to be aided by continuous study and enquiry. Then the end of this phase is where very gingerly, surreptitiously, I tiptoe into myself and appreciate the value of myself without the experiences. This is the Nididhyasanam. This is Anubhava. Remember we saw Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava. So to summarize this, the Shruti is where it says yes. Don't look upon this thing as Vastava. There is something funny going on, inquire into it. And the Yukti consists of my making that promise more and more real in my life through questioning, through reasoning, through logic. What kind of logic? The fact that I am the same person with different experiences. So what happens is we throw the baby with the bathwater. We throw the baby out with the bathwater. How? So when you say that I was young, oh, that was a different person. You say I was so inexperienced. Or you can say I was a very happy person. And then I became an adult, I became very unhappy. We all say that. Oh, my childhood was so nice. And it really was. It's nice. But you say that's a different person. Now I'm a different person. You're not. So this has to be done through yukti. No, this another yukti is that, you know, the Advaita is just a concept by these people. There is no Advaita. Hey, you are the experience of Advaita every day, every night, sometimes day also. So Advaita is also through yukti. And another thing that we won't get into today, but this is a very important part of the yukti that we have to see, is that the entire set of experiences are anirvachaniyam. You cannot define it precisely. Cannot define it precisely. I'll just spend 2 minutes on this and then we'll do that some other time and then we finish. So for example, you find that the whole set, see our initial conclusion is that this whole world is real. It's been there forever. The Himalayas are there, the sea is there, I'll be gone, they'll still be there. This is my thing. Then we ask, now, can you take any one of the constituents of this whole creation? Does anything stay constant? And you say, no, nothing stays constant, but the whole world stays constant. And so, how is that possible? So this is what is, I need more time for this and I don't have it, so I'll just summarize it. And so the whole world is consisting of ever-changing things. So it has an appearance of not changing, but every constituent is constitutively changing. This I have to think about. Is there something like this? Yeah, the closest thing you can think of is a river, where you have waves that are continuously changing, but the river stays the same. And so the anirvachaniyam, you cannot precisely define it. A lot of things to be talked about this. We'll go at it some other time. This is also part of the yukti. And I have to be sharp enough, and I have to be taught enough, I have to be smart enough to be able to look into the anirvachaniyatvam. So this is what often the students ask, that how come I don't have this experience of fullness, of that of the jnani and so on and so forth. A lot of the students continuously ask this. Well, this is the reason you have so many doubts of your own mind. You have not really taught it. Whatever you see this is to be real. What can we do about it? Anyway, so these are, so, in and through this definition of nidra and pragya and so on and so on, it goes into this, the fact that you have to inquire into the reality and the non-reality of it, and then ascertain for yourself the anubhava, which is the third stage, of clearly understanding that I can, I am, I will be without experiences as a separate person. This is the essence of this teaching. So with that, I'll close today's class. Forgot to record it, darn it. My mistake. Hopefully you have it. We may have to get the audio for it. Om swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaah go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samastha sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini desho yam kshobarahitah brahmana santu nirbhayah sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Questions? Yeah.
Well, you said that everything changes except the I, the Atma.
Yeah.
Because we remember everything. But the memory and buddhi and all that is the ahankar's, the jivatma's function. And the memory also changes. But so everything is changing, then how do you say that it doesn't?
So the memory also, the memory is not part of the Atma. That's also a projection.
Yes.
So the only thing that doesn't change is the I am and I know. So even if you say that memory is failing, that also is an object of yourself. That's not the subject. So the awareness of all memories, all experiences, that doesn't change. No. Yeah.
A lot of people say that they've gone through all the knowledge and understanding, and now they should experience what they've learned. Is that understanding different than the anubhava that we're talking about?
No, it's the same. It depends on how they look at it. You know, it depends. I don't know what the doubts are, people, and so on and so forth. But it's really the same thing in the sense that, yes, the so-called, you can say that, I've been studying Vedanta, now I know what Vedanta is. That is just the beginning, because it is endowed with a lot of doubts that you have. And until, this is the second stage, that unless it is, all those doubts are undertaken, all are tackled, all the doubts are tackled, and you have a clarity of it, then the fruitfulness of the knowledge will be withheld from you. So that is what's called the experience, per se. So the study of the Shastra through books and so on is just only one of the stages. Yeah, it doesn't really, you have to see what your own feelings are and experiences, and that will not be fully released until you have done the work to remove all the doubts that your own mind has about it. And then comes the understanding of, then you don't say Gita says this. This means I say it. I don't have to say it also. I am. And so that would be called the anubhava of it, yeah. So these are the stages that one has to go through, yeah. But to get to that stage, the tatparya nishchaya is very important. Exactly what, you know, so when you just come across, let's say you go to the very first class and say you are the Atma and you are different and so on and so forth. And it all feels good, but you don't quite understand. Even though you close your eyes and you say, yes, I'm the Atma and so on and so forth. For a moment you might even have a glimpse of the reality. But otherwise you don't really understand the whole thing. How is the Atma? Questions like this, you know, how can Atma be the same when you have memory? All those kinds of things have come up. So all of them have to be tackled in a very objective manner. And so then, I think this is why the Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam or Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava are a good way to look at it. This is exactly what one has to do. So initially it is just an introduction with some possibilities. But to make the possibilities a reality requires individual work. And that cannot, so this is what is called, so one is Ishvara Anugraha, Guru Anugraha, and then what is called Atma Anugraha. Atma Anugraha means your own thinking must be kind to you. Because otherwise your mind mocks at you. Hey, you've been studying this for so long, what's happened? You're still the same person. It mocks you. And so you have to then, after a while, your mind is convinced and you say, yes. Anytime some contrary experience of life takes place, you're able to explain it. Why does it happen? These are the removal of the doubts against the Tatparya Nishchaya. But so each one of these stages has to be given due diligence. So even the first stage, and Swami Dayanand used to say this so well. He says, you know, I sometimes see and I'm afraid that little knowledge is a dangerous thing. You see some small introduction to Vedanta and then you feel, now I've got it. And now I can not only, the worst thing is then you start teaching others the same way. He gave a very interesting anecdotal, so he says, I was teaching in Rishikesh in the very beginning when he had his own kutia. So somebody came to my lectures, some Swami. He was a guy who was already taken Bhiksha and Diksha, and he was a Swami. So he says, Swamiji, I'm very impressed by your teaching. I really want to study with you, but I am going to America and I have been asked to give the some classes on the Bhagavad Gita. He says, some people in America have invited me. So can you please teach me 10 verses of the Gita and I only have a couple of days, so I'm leaving on Thursday, or today is Monday. And I'll be glad to come anytime, but I need to know a short version of the Gita. Swamiji says, okay. In fact, Swamiji has given 8 essential verses of the Gita. So you have, Swamiji taught him. But he says, I didn't get in touch with him to see. He never came back to see how it happened. But he says now how things are done. So all I'm saying is that each of the stages has to be given due diligence. The Shravanam has to be done in years. You have to study Upanishads, you have to study Bhagavad Gita, you have to study Brahma Sutra, so that what exactly is the the Nishchaya, what is the ascertainment of the Vedanta, is fully known. Now then starts the Anubhava. You have to start now applying it to yourself, which means your own individual doubts have to be tackled. And finally you come to a point. This is where I remember reading a book about the Ramana Maharshi, and it's a very interesting book. They said, this takes a lifetime of process, but those who have done it in the previous life, then they get to it. The Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam gets collapsed very quickly, which is possible. So Ramana Maharshi's insight, and a lot of other people as well, it's not just him, they can grasp, they can transition from Shravanam to Nididhyasanam in a very short time. But in general, it takes a lifetime and several lifetimes. It's very possible that we may collapse by the time we, and so that's fine. There Ishvara has said, there's no, we will keep your bank balance of understanding. That will never be lost. So in the next life, you become a Raman Maharshi. You just quickly go into, that's what happens.
So are there different stages of consciousness? And this
Not stages of consciousness, but the stages of experiences of consciousness. Consciousness remains the same. There's no big consciousness or small one. But the sense of limitation, which is different. Yeah. So Raji, are you there? Please come. Raji has, in fact, why don't you explain the whole thing just for a minute?
The idea is to spread the word about Aim for Seva, and we are trying to do it in local events. And this evening at 8 p.m. There is an opportunity to present at Women's Empowerment for Manushi Cherler. She is Miss World for 2017. There is an opportunity to meet her. And if we get a table for 10, then we get an opportunity to present Aim for Seva. I'm looking for volunteers who are available tonight. It starts at 8 p.m. and goes on till 11 o'clock. And it is right here in Ranch Drive in Melpitas. If anybody is interested, Vijayji was nice enough to say he can sponsor a few tickets.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah.
So if you have the time, it would be nice to have some representation for Aim for Seva.
How many people you have already mentioned?
3.
You have 3 people and you have a table of 10?
No, we don't have the table yet because we don't have enough sign up. If it is just 3 people, we'll just buy 3 tickets and go. But if there is 10 people, we can have the table, and for 3 minutes we can present Aim for Seva.
If you don't get a chance to present for 3 minutes, can we have any brochures?
We can give our small cards and all that. We can meet people, talk to them informally around the table and around other tables, and tell them about Aim for Seva and give our cards. We cannot keep anything bigger than that, but we can always pass out.
Krishna is going, right?
Yeah.
So this is a good initiative. If you can join, that's wonderful. But even otherwise, I'm very happy that you are taking the opportunity to present the story to others. And even if it is not that successful today, the initiative is wonderful. So, but if you can go, I'll be happy to sponsor some tickets. So don't have to worry the money part of it. I cannot go myself tonight. But if you can go, then please help Raji out. This is one thing. Anything else on that, Raji?
That's